Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
There's something that some of us say we can never get enough of. And why don't we have enough of it? I'm not talking about air or anything like that. It's money.
Right.
You think you should be more abundant at this time and you're not. Maybe there's a reason. What are you teaching your kids when it comes to money? We have a relationship with money, believe it or not. Like to have a good one with it as well. But why is it not maybe happening for you? Um, Maybe there's some beliefs going back there. We're going to look at that today. She's a psychologist that unpacks a lot of things for a lot of people. Today, it's money. Gloria Vanderhorst is back with us. Hey, Gloria, how are you?
I am good. It's good to be here, Steve.
You too. Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this because the relationship with money, and it's funny because I talked to somebody years ago and it really did make sense that you need to improve your relationship. And it's okay. This was their belief. And I don't think it's too far off. Literally talk to money. Set a place setting at your dinner table, and money is sitting there. And what would you say to it? How would you talk to it?
That's a great idea.
Right? Because we have a relationship with money. And sometimes if we find that we don't have enough to live and meet our goals, maybe we don't have great relationships. Does that sound right?
That sounds right on target.
Hmm.
I think it's also true that we have to accept that we can fail at managing money and we can recover from that. It isn't the end if you fail at managing money, all right? Lots of people don't know how to manage money. They go through failures and then they recover and they learn how to do a better job of managing money.
Yeah. And things happen. I'll tell you, I had a
Yeah.
situation last month where I had a credit card I hardly ever use. And there's like a $1,500 balance on it. I just didn't get around to pay it off. I don't use it. I missed not one, but two payments. I've always paid the credit card.
Right.
Something happened with my reminders. The bank changed there. I don't mean to give excuses, but this is the facts.
Yeah.
The bank, TD Bank, anybody's got TD Bank, they changed the way you pay bills. And it was kind of in flux until they rolled out their new app for phones. Well, guess what happened? My credit report, which I've always, and the number one thing my mom always said to me,
Right.
make sure your credit's good.
Right. It tanked, didn't it?
60 points.
Wow, that's huge.
And I was beside myself. I'm like, what was going on? Even called up the credit card company. They offered really nothing. They just said, they didn't even know what to say. The person, the representative just kind of didn't get it and say, well, wait for the next cycle because we report again. Well, now it's slowly coming back up.
Very good.
And my credit is really good. However, it's lower normally than it should be because I have a business and I float some credit on credit cards. It just is what it is.
Right.
Now it went down 60 points, but it has started coming up and it looks like we're back in an okay range there. But my relationship with money, we had a communication issue.
That's right.
Really what it is. Yeah.
That's right. And that relationship with money is really important. All the adults listening to this are going to identify with that. There are times when, you neglect or you lose track of a payment and it has an impact. It gets reported.
It really does. And now let's go over to somebody who says, I don't know what it is. I can never make enough. I want to get a new car and I can't afford it. I'm always behind. It's this never going to happen for me. Is that person with that kind of language and mentality self-sabotaging?
Well, I imagine that person comes from a family where they really were not taught about money. And that can be in two different directions, all right? Maybe mom and dad are really so quiet about it that they don't share. Maybe they're neglectful themselves, or maybe they just have so much money that they don't bother to teach their children about money. I see a lot of teenagers in that position,
Hmm.
right? Their parents are well off, and the teenagers really don't have any responsibility at home. There's nothing that they do to earn their own money. They just get provided money whenever they need it. So you
Hmm.
set up that expectation that I don't have to track my own money or think about my own money. I'll just go to the parent bank anytime that I need it. And that's a real disservice to our children. We need to start teaching them about money. Elementary school, even kindergarten, you can still learn about money.
I totally agree. And even if you don't come from a place of a lot of abundance and money, a lot of parents nowadays just buy things anyway. Yeah, I'll get that for you.
Mhm.
I'll get that for you out of
Right.
guilt because you're working a
Mhm.
lot of jobs, or you may not have had a great childhood. Now
Right.
you want your kid to have one, but many are teaching them not to appreciate that they feel entitled.
Mhm.
Um, and I've seen it with my kids that, I didn't have a great, I made my own toys. I didn't have money when I was a kid. I had
Mhm.
some toys, but, I would
Mhm.
come up with little things to make, the
Sure.
toys I had do other things. Um, so I'm a little more lenient when it comes to buying things. But even the little purchases, and I say, well, you know what? You got that last month. We're not going to do that this month.
Mhm.
But there was a period of time where I wouldn't hear thank you a lot,
Right.
in appreciation. And now it could be a $5 shower cap. I got my daughter the other day. She texts me. It's like, I don't want to get my hair wet every single day. It was like I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
Target. It was 5.49. It was the best thing and she was wearing it
The
all day
greatest
long.
gift.
The greatest gift. But and she texted me and the store was closing like in 10 minutes and I just happened to be in the area, picked it up, got home. She didn't think I was going to get it for her. I'm like, yeah, I got it.
Got it.
But even that, she would say, thank you, thank you. And then there was one time where she's like, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. She goes, oh, I didn't hear you. No, but
That's great.
what about, and I have a friend, Trish, who the example I gave before where somebody says, I never have enough. It's just, I
Mhm.
can't afford that. I really believe that she has that belief that is true. And it's not, but I think that was instilled by her parents.
Mhm.
And a lot of our parents always said things like, money doesn't grow on trees. What are you doing?
Right. Right.
Planting that seed. And also
Mhm.
her ex-husband, I think, had a lot to do with that as well. Because that's what she says a lot. I don't have enough. Does that
Right.
sound reasonable too?
It does. And I think a lot of times people are afraid to manage their money. All right. And
Yep.
so sometimes they're super conservative. So they will just deny, deny, deny. I don't have money for that, and I don't have money for that, and constantly deny themselves.
Hmm.
Or they will not be aware at all of how to manage money, because managing money is a process that you have to learn. It doesn't come automatically. You really have to learn that process. Now, I can remember my parents, both hardworking, but in lower class kinds of jobs. White collar jobs were not available to them, so they're in
Hmm.
the blue collar system. And they had a sequence of envelopes that they used. So they would put their electric bill every week. They decided how much had to go to the electric bill. All right. It wasn't collected until every month, but
Hmm.
every week, a little bit would go into the electric envelope or the insurance envelope or the grocery envelope. So they had a system. And that's my point. In order to really have a relationship with money, you have
Hmm.
to have a system. You have to know it, right? It's just like relating to another person. You want to ask questions about that person. You want to
Yep.
get the background of that person. You want to project into the future with that person. You have to
Yep.
get to know money.
Yeah.
And if you are afraid of it, or if you're concerned that I'll never have enough of it, you're not in relationship with it. You're not getting to know it. We want to treat this. I love your image of sitting down at the dinner table and put a plate down for money and talk to money. We need a
Hmm.
relationship
Yeah.
with money.
I think now more than ever, it's harder to manage your money. And this is,
Mm.
I'm getting visuals as we're talking here. I remember back in the 90s, I got a program. Can't even, if I think about it, it'll come to me, but it was basically like managing everything, your checkbook, all of that back then. So simple. It was so great. I felt like, oh, I've got it. I've got it.
All right, I have mastery.
It was a great feeling. Nowadays, there are so many things floating out there
Mm-hmm.
because of the digital world where your $5 subscription every month for this,
Oh,
you
yeah.
may have gotten a trial of that and forgot to cancel
Right.
the trial. So you've got all these things floating out there, so much coming at you
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
you really got to buckle down and go through all your statements and see what's going on. And then, of course, then when you want to cancel things, that's like an act of Congress. Many times they don't make it easy. So you got to budget the time for that. It is a lot of work. However, it's many financial experts will say it is the little things that are adding up.
Mm-hmm.
It's all adding up.
Absolutely. And you're right. We get opportunities to subscribe to so many different things. You can try all these different channels on the television, and the sign on is, $1.99, $5.99, and you think, oh, that's easy,
Yeah.
right? I can do that. I'll just do the trial. Well, then you're right. You forget that you
Mm-hmm.
signed up for the trial. You never go back to that group of channels again, but it's being deducted from your
Yeah.
account on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
And
So you,
and
you,
companies love it. You opt
yeah, they
in,
do.
it's and you need to give your credit card even for the trial. And you're like, I only need this for a day. So
Right,
7-day trial. Let me just get it and I'll cancel it. And meanwhile, you've been paying for 3 years. Uh,
right.
even things like, that little cup of joy, I call it the cup of coffee that you get
Uh-huh.
from, call it Starbucks.
Right,
Me personally, I don't do it every day, but maybe every other day. I don't get a frappuccino. I get a decaf coffee with some sugar-free flavoring. I'm over $5
right,
on the venti. Do
right.
the math. Even if you did it
Mm-hmm.
every day, go 5 times, 5 days a week, and the entire you're looking, a lot, hundreds, thousands,
That's
$1,000
right.
you're looking at.
That's
And
right.
it's
And
yeah.
we do those small things without thinking about it. So unless we really do sit down and take a look at where did I spend all of this money? And
Mm,
that's the reason that it feels like I just never have
yeah,
money because I'm spending it in all these little places without really taking a serious look. Do I need that cup of coffee or can I just go home and brew one? All right.
right,
And that's
right.
going to cost me pennies instead of dollars.
Mm.
Making
I,
choices is really the thing that's the critical part of managing money.
and it's so easy to get sucked in with even delivery, things
Hmm.
like DoorDash and grocery delivery. Yeah, it's great. I tried it I signed up. Oh, so here's the thing. I signed up for a grocery delivery service
Uh-huh.
and somehow I paid $99 for the membership.
For the
And
subscription. Right. Yeah.
my friend told me you don't have to do that. It's free. What happens is you get a break on your delivery fees if you sign
Uh-huh.
up, and
Hmm.
somehow maybe it equals out, but it depends on how often you use that delivery service. So
Right.
I've canceled it. I think it runs out like literally any day now. And I'll just do it without paying that subscription price. So that cold winter morning where I don't feel like going out and somebody wants to make money and get a tip, I'll just use
Right.
it on those days.
Right.
Um, we talked about kids before. What should you tell your kids? You want to be proactive. Let's say you've got uh, elementary school age kids, tweens. What kinds of language should you use with them when you're talking about money?
Well, first of all, I think elementary school age children should have responsibilities.
I
And
agree.
there are so many places, so many parents now who do things for their kids. instead of giving the kids an opportunity to be proud of something that they've done. It's just as simple as, make your bed in the morning. All right,
Yes.
pick the
Yep.
clothes up off the floor
Yeah.
and put them in the laundry basket. So I think kids should have responsibilities and that they should be paid for some of those responsibilities as well, so that they learn from the very beginning how to manage money and how to connect their effort with their income. It's a critical
Mm.
relationship to
Mm.
understand. In order to have money, I have to use energy. I have to be doing something in order to acquire that money. It doesn't grow on trees. I wish it did. We have 2 or 3 beautiful trees in our yard. I'd love to go out and pick dollar bills off the trees, but it doesn't grow on trees. It comes only because of my effort. And I want to connect effort with income so that teenagers have an interest in doing something to earn some degree of money. And they have responsibility for how do they manage it? What do they use it for?
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of parents do this with, even if they just do allowances, they then require their kids to save a third of it, give away a third of it, and spend a third of it. And I
Hmm.
think that's a
Oh,
good division.
oh, interesting. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And that's easy to, now you're working with a little bit of math. So, your kids have to figure it out. I want to go back real quick to earning it, and the chores
Hmm.
need to be done in a timely manner.
Right.
I have that challenge where, can you empty the dishwasher? 2 days go by. It hasn't been done.
Mhm.
It doesn't count. It doesn't work that way. It needs
Right.
to be, because the rest of us, when we go to our job, our responsibilities that we earn money, you don't say that to your boss.
Right.
You get an assignment. Yeah, I'll get to that. When I get to that, it doesn't work
Right.
that way. Yeah.
Everything has a time frame to it. All right.
Yeah.
So I show up for this podcast at a particular time. You show up for this podcast at a particular time. And that's not flexible. If I came at 1, you wouldn't be here, right? I
Yeah.
come at 12:30 and you're here. And so we need to teach our children that too. If I have a responsibility, there's a time frame for executing that responsibility. And if I don't do it in that time frame, then I'm going to lose something
Mm.
as a result. So the
And
same thing is true for when you go to work, right? If
absolutely.
if your first job is a waitress in a deli and you never go out to wait on a table, you're going to get fired.
Yes. Yeah. And the same thing holds true when you need to pay bills. Uh,
Hmm.
it needs to be done in a timely fashion, because if you
That's right.
don't, you'll run into a lot of trouble. Late
That's
fees,
right.
and we all know what comes after that. So,
Right.
yeah, I think
Your
those,
electricity will shut off if you don't pay the electricity bill
of
on
course,
time.
of course. So, if somebody thinks they may have what is called a limiting belief about
Hmm.
being able to earn what they want to earn, be where they want to be in life, is that something that you can work with them on?
Oh, it is. All right. And it's something that there's just tons of information out there on how to manage money, how to have a relationship with money. They should also take themselves to the library, right? Look up some books on managing money. Start to read, really learn how do people take care of the resources that they have. This is a valuable resource, and you'd be surprised that you
Hmm.
can probably do a lot more with it than you ever imagined. And you have to realize that if your parents did not really teach you about money and you just have this fear that I'll never have enough and I'll never be able to figure out how to relate to money, you take yourself to the library, read some
Mm.
books. All
Yeah.
right. There are lots of good people out there to educate you on
Yeah.
how to have a relationship with money and really be able to manage it well so that you can be successful in the long term. I want people to be able to have comfort, right? Have the necessities, but also to recognize that they are going to live longer, this generation, than ever before. All right. We now have people very active in their 90s. So the teenagers of today are going to live into their hundreds. All right. That's a long time. And I'm going to need money throughout all of that time. So you really do have to be thinking now, how am I going to manage money so that I can have money when I'm 100? And not have to be dependent on others. We can be self-sufficient.
If there was ever a time that you buckled down and accounted for every penny, I think it would be now. Things are
Mm-hmm.
so expensive. Things
Right.
are in many parts of the country very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting more expensive. And then just what you said, that we're going to live longer. So we
Right.
need to really prepare for that. And what about this? When it comes to money, what you need and what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And really recognizing the difference between the two, because you could say, I love to win the lottery, $5 million. How great that
Right.
would be. Oh, yeah. Do you really need $5 million? Let's be honest.
Not
Let's
really. Not really.
would it be nice? Sure. Would it
It's
change
great.
your life in some regards? Yes. And I really mean
Mm-hmm.
some regards, because
Mm-hmm.
go to take a look at people who have won millions of dollars in the lottery. And I believe the number is 90%, if not a little bit higher, how it changed their lives for the worse, how
Right.
they don't even have that money. And actually, many of them have less than they had before they won.
That is true. It's shocking.
It's shocking.
But it really is true. But it proves the point that we don't educate ourselves about how to manage money. So if I come into a large sum of money and have not really been educated on how to relate to money, I'm going to be irresponsible with that money. And that's what happens to these people that win the lottery. They tend to be grossly irresponsible with the money. And that's why they end up in a situation where they really don't have much to show
Mm,
for that money.
yeah.
So we have a responsibility to really educate our children and our teenagers to relate to money, to understand money, to be able to delay gratification. You know, that's why that you save a third of it, you give a third of it away, and you spend a third of it. I think it's a really good rule because you're relating to the society as a whole when you donate to different organizations. You're taking care of yourself when you save it. So we have to learn. Nobody does this automatically. We don't come into the world
Yeah.
with an automatic sense of how to relate to money and how to take care of money on a long term basis. It is something that we have to learn. And it doesn't mean that you can't fail. I think it's okay to fail, right? Let's say you start a little business, you invest some of your savings in that business, and it just fails completely. You learned something,
Yeah.
right? And you'll take what you learned and apply it some other place. Will it be starting another business? Maybe. Will it be learning about trusting people in relationship? For sure. Okay.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, you know, we have a responsibility to help our children learn how to manage money. And in this day and age, we keep our children so busy that I don't think we expect them to learn how to manage money.
I'm glad you said that, because you're right. You'll make sure that your kids are going to soccer and
Mhm.
lacrosse and cheerleading and all
Right.
these things. And do they really want to? That's another question. Is it they think that they should be doing that because you as a parent maybe you're pushing it?
Well,
I'm being
and everybody else is doing it. All
right.
right. It
I'm
is a
being very honest
social
here.
norm right now to
I'm
keep your
being
kids busy.
It is. It is. I think what we talked about this in the past, and I have a friend uh, who does just that, single parent. And I've even
Mhm.
had conversations. I've tried to be nice and just say, I know what she's doing because she's the one parent. So she's playing the
Right.
role of both and like
Mhm.
super serving her kids, doesn't really leave a lot of time for herself.
Right.
Um, but imagine this all that time, on the lacrosse field or whatever, part of the 5 activities that they're doing.
Right.
Could you imagine if you sat down and taught them about money?
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow.
It would be fabulous.
Because look at the life skills that they would learn from an early age
Mhm.
versus the lacrosse, not take or whatever the sport is. I'm not taking away from that
Right.
because there's competitiveness, there's sportsmanship, dealing with others, a team, the exercise involved, the commitment. All of that is
Right.
important. But if you're doing 4 of those activities, maybe take one away and focus on money, for a couple of weeks. And,
Well, and you miss the opportunity. We keep our children so busy that they miss the opportunity to learn to reflect. And it's in reflection that creativity is born. They miss the opportunity just to learn how
mm,
to relax because
mm,
we don't give them time or opportunity to relax. And they miss the opportunity to really be creative. All right.
yeah.
Inventions do not come out of lacrosse practice or football practice. They come out of reflection. They come out of downtime. They come out of being bored to tears, right? Before I generate, here's what I'm going to do with my energy, with my time. They come out of boredom.
Mm,
Creative ideas get born out of boredom.
love that thought. I love that thought. It's funny. Even us talking today, I'm reflecting back. Remember, I said the 90s and that program I
Mhm.
was using? I wouldn't have been thinking that. But you know what? It's a wake up call for me to buckle
Mhm.
down a little bit more, go out to eat a little bit less. And I have another friend whose daughter is 15, same age as mine, and her daughter does activities,
Uh-huh.
not a ton, but she consciously says, the daughter says that every couple of days, I can't do anything.
Right.
And she just powers down and hangs out in her room,
Mhm.
reflects, watches TV. Like, and my friend even says, yeah, she's got to do that. She can't, she
Yes,
needs.
to do that.
So I'm
It's
glad,
really healthy.
right? I'm glad she's mindful of that. And some may look at that, she's lazy. No, no,
No,
it's
no,
it's
it's really
important.
healthy. All
Wow.
right. That's where creativity comes from. Inventions come
Hmm.
out of that downtime.
Love that thought. Uh, if we want to reach out to you, want to work with you, managing life, be it money or whatever aspect of it, whether it's for ourselves, our children, or whatever, your website is easy to find in your name,
It's
right?
very easy to find. It's www.drvanderhorst.com. And you can sign on to my website, go to the bottom of the first page, and definitely sign up for my blog. You'll enjoy reading the blog.
Vanderhorst, Vanderhorst,
That's right. Hmm.
Vanderhorst.com. Gloria, always great having you with us. I'm going to tell you right now with conviction that I am skipping that cup of coffee today.
Very good.
Maybe
And
tomorrow.
that'll be money in your pocket.
Hey, well, there you go. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon. Okay.
All right.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.